Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. Skycommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by skycommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started. We have a stack of research on the table today that is, honestly, a little bit intimidating, but, in the best way possible.
It's a lot to get through, for sure.
Yeah, and it's because we are not talking about buying the newest drone. We aren't talking about frame rates or color grading or, how to get that cinematic look that everyone chases on Instagram.
No, today is about something much harder.
Yeah.
It's about identity.
Identity. That's a big word for a conversation about flying robots. But looking at this material, specifically the training on the Capstone mission, it really is a shift, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
We're looking at the difference between someone who, happens to own a drone and someone who is a professional operator.
It's a massive canyon between those two things.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a distinction that a lot of pilots struggle with for years.
Really?
For years? Yeah. You see it all the time. They have the stick skills. They can fly circles around people manually. They can thread a drone through a forest at 30 miles an hour. But they don't have the system. And because they don't have the system, they are, frankly, dangerous.
Dangerous because they're unpredictable. Or just reckless.
Dangerous because they are relying on luck and reflexes. The Capstone concept we're breaking down today is essentially a final exam, but it's not a paper test. It's a flight that proves you can handle the real world.
Okay.
The core idea is moving from a recreational mindset, flying for vibes, flying for fun, to a check ride mindset.
Flying like an auditor is standing right behind you, watching every single decision you make.
Exactly. Imagine an inspector from the FAA or Transport Canada is literally breathing down your neck. Would you make the same choices?
Probably not, no.
Most pilots wouldn't.
Yeah.
The source material puts it perfectly. The goal shifts from capturing pretty footage to capturing footage you can defend.
Footage you can defend. That phrase really stopped me in my tracks when I read it.
Yeah.
Because usually when I look at my drone footage, I'm just asking, is it sharp? Is the lighting good? I'm not asking, can I defend this in court?
And that's the reality check. If you are operating commercially or even just operating seriously near people or, infrastructure, you need to be able to explain why you were there.
Okay.
Why you flew that path and how you mitigated the risk. If your answer is just, I thought it would look cool, you've already lost.
So the problem isn't necessarily that people can't fly, it's that they can't plan. Is that the core of it?
The problem is that most pilots think flying is about the thumbs. They think stick skills are the job.
Yeah.
But the reality is you can design a perfect mission on paper, you can have all the skills, and you can blow it in the first 90 seconds.
90 seconds.
Yep. Because you didn't practice the moment where the plan meets reality.
The moment where the plan meets reality, that's where the chaos lives.
That's it. You show up and there's a construction crane that wasn't on the map, or the security guard is yelling at you, or the wind is gusting around a building in a way the forecast didn't predict.
Right.
That is where the pilot fails and the operator succeeds. The operator has a system for the chaos.
So what we're going to walk through today is this 8-step Capstone workflow. And it's a beast of a system, but it's designed to train professional operators to work under both U.S. rules, the FAA Part 107, and Canadian rules, Transport Canada's Part 9X.
And they're very similar in spirit, which is what makes this framework so powerful.
And what I found fascinating is that even if you never plan to fly commercially, even if you just fly for fun on the weekends, this mindset makes you so much safer. It takes the maybe out of it.
It replaces maybe with the decision system. That's the key. We're going to frame the paperwork not as bureaucracy, because let's be honest, everyone hates paperwork.
Oh, I hate paperwork.
We all do. But think of it as a shield. It's a system that protects you from your own bad decisions.
I like that framing, a shield. Okay, let's unpack this system. It starts way before we even touch the drone. Section 1 is the setup, and specifically, step 1, precision mission selection.
Right. And this is where most people fail immediately. Oh, yeah. They pick a dream job. They say, okay, for my capstone, my big test, I'm going to film this massive utility corridor that crosses a highway, goes near an airport, and I'm going to do it at sunset.
Because it sounds cool. It sounds like a pro mission. It's ambitious. I get the impulse.
It sounds cool, but it requires permissions they don't have, gear they don't own, and a team they haven't recruited. So the rule for a capstone is ambitious, but realistic. You want to choose a mission that stretches exactly one variable, not all of them.
Just one. So don't try to learn how to map, fly at night, and get complex airspace authorization all on the same Tuesday.
Precisely. That is a recipe for disaster. If you stretch everything, you snap. If you stretch one thing, you learn. And to help with that, the source material talks about the 3 locks.
The 3 locks.
A mission isn't valid unless it satisfies these 3 realities. You have to lock them all in before you proceed.
Okay, walk me through the locks. Lock number 1 is gear reality.
Gear reality asks a very simple question. What can you deploy today?
Not what's in your shopping cart online.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not what you want to buy next month. We're talking about the unsexy stuff. Do you have enough batteries to actually fly the duration of this mission? Not just one flight, but maybe 3 or 4 to get all the shots.
Right, because one battery gives you, 25 minutes?
If you're lucky. Then you have to land, swap, maybe your landing zone has moved. Do you have the right SD cards that can handle the right speed for 4K video?
Oh, that's a good one. People cheap out on cards.
All the time. And then they get corrupted data. Do you have ND filters if it's bright out? You can't just fix a choppy, overexposed video in post. It's baked in. If you don't have it in your case right now, you can't plan for it. You have to design the mission around the gear you actually have.
Okay, that makes total sense. So lock number 2 is airspace reality.
Yeah.
This feels like the big one for compliance.
It is. This is the one that can get you in serious trouble. The question is, where can you legally fly this week without permission drama?
Permission drama. I feel that. That's a great term for it. It's a real thing. If you're Capstone, your whole plan depends on the FAA or NAV Canada granting you a special waiver that takes 90 days to process. You don't have a mission.
You have a wish.
You have a wish.
Yeah.
You have a prayer. You need to pick a spot where you can get authorized now. Maybe that means finding Class G uncontrolled airspace where you don't need to talk to anyone. That's a perfectly valid and very smart choice.
Using one of the automated systems.
Exactly. Or maybe it means using LANC in the U.S. to get instant automated authorization for controlled airspace near a smaller airport.
Right.
But if you can't get the green light this week, the mission is dead. Find a new location.
So simple, but so important. Don't plan for a yes you don't have.
Never.
And the 3rd lock is goals reality.
This is about honesty. Brutal honesty with yourself. What skill are you actually proving? Are you proving you can fly fast and do a cool barrel roll? Or are you proving you can run a clean pre-flight checklist under pressure? The capstone is about proving the boring stuff that keeps you employed, not the exciting stuff that gets you likes on Instagram.
So the goal isn't get a cool video. It's prove I can execute a repeatable flight pattern, or prove I can manage a safe landing zone.
Yes, the goal is the professional habit, not the social media clip.
Okay. The source actually lists out 5 core scenarios, these archetypes to choose from. I think it's helpful to visualize these because they cover pretty much, 90% of what a pro drone pilot does.
Yeah, these are great buckets. They give you a concrete starting point. The first is the utility corridor.
Okay, what does that prove?
This proves consistency and linear discipline. Can you fly in a perfectly straight line, keep the camera framed on the wire or the pipeline, and not drift up, down, left, or right? It sounds incredibly easy.
It does sound easy.
Try it in a 10-mile-an-hour crosswind for a quarter mile. Your thumbs will be screaming. It's incredibly difficult to do well.
Then there's construction progress.
Right. This is all about repeatability. This is a huge commercial job. Can you go to the same site every Tuesday for 6 months and hit the exact same angles, the same altitudes, the same camera tilt?
So a project manager can just slide between the photos and see the building go up like a time lapse.
Exactly. It proves site control and spatial awareness. You aren't just flying. You're matching a previous reality. It's a technical skill, not an artistic one.
Okay, next one. Public safety and search and rescue training. This one sounds the most stressful.
It is, but the skill isn't saving the day. You're not the hero. The skill is composure. Can you communicate clearly on a radio? Can you report what you see without freaking out? Can you say, I have a visual on a blue tarp at the northern tree line, instead of screaming, I found it, into the mic and creating chaos?
It proves you can function in a command structure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you take orders and provide clear, actionable intelligence? That's the job.
Then we have the one everyone thinks of, real estate or storytelling.
This proves taste. It proves restraint. And that's a hard word for a lot of pilots. It's not about doing every trick in the book on one house. It's about planning a narrative. Can you do one single, slow, smooth reveal shot that is good enough to sell a $10 million house? Or do you just fly around like a mosquito?
And finally, environmental or agriculture.
This is all about data consistency. Can you capture evidence like a grid map of a cornfield to look for blight that a scientist or a farmer could actually use to make a decision?
So if you miss a spot, the whole thing is useless.
The data is useless. It's not about pretty pictures of a field. It's about a complete and consistent data set.
So you pick one of those archetypes, and then you pick your one stretch variable.
Exactly. So maybe you say, okay, I'm going to do a construction progress mission. That's my archetype. My stretch variable is going to be complex airspace. I'm going to do it near an airport where I have to get LA&C.
Or maybe the stretch is night ops or dealing with difficult bystanders.
But it's not all three. You keep the debrief clean by isolating the variable you're testing.
Okay, so we've picked our mission, we've locked our gear, our airspace, our goals. Now we move to section 2, the promise. This is about writing the mission brief. And the source calls this a promise. Why that specific word?
Because a brief answers the fundamental question: what decision does this mission support? A lot of pilots treat the brief like a homework assignment they have to get through to be compliant.
Just tick in a box.
Just tick in a box.
Yeah.
But in the professional world, the brief is a contract. It's a promise to the client, or even to yourself, that you will deliver a specific result that enables a specific decision.
And this gets to the decision first rule.
Yes. If you can't name the decision, you don't have a mission.
Yeah.
A lot of pilots say, my mission is to get cool footage of that tower. That's not a decision. That's a desire.
Okay, so what's a decision?
A decision is, we will use this footage to determine if the vegetation is encroaching on the power lines so we can prioritize the vegetation trimming schedule.
We will use these photos to approve the monthly payment to the general contractor.
We will use this video to select the best listing photo for the real estate website. You have to work backward from what the client needs to do with the footage.
It's interesting because it forces you to get out of your own head as the pilot and into the client's head.
100%. And that leads to the success paragraph. This is a crucial part of the brief.
Okay.
It's a testable description of the outcome. You write something like, I will deliver visual documentation of the south wall of the building from a distance of 50 feet at an altitude of 100 feet. This is for visual documentation only, not for survey grade measurement.
I love that distinction. You're defining what you are not doing as well.
Exactly. Managing expectations is half the job. If you don't say, this isn't a measurement, the client might try to measure off it, find an error, and sue you when the building falls down. You define the boundaries.
And this isn't just good business, this is regulatory, right? This ties directly back to the rules.
It absolutely is. In Canada, under the CARS, the Canadian Aviation Regulations, specifically 901.27, you are required to do a site survey and consider airspace, NOTAMs, and your approach routes before you fly. The brief is your proof that you did that. You can't just do it in your head and say you did.
It has to be written down.
If it's not written, it didn't happen.
And in the U.S.
In the U.S., under Part 107, you have a pre-flight assessment requirement. You have to assess weather, potential hazards, the location of people. The brief is your evidence that you didn't just show up and guess. You assessed. If an inspector walks up to you on site, you're not just saying, I'm safe. You're handing them a document that says, here is how I am safe.
That's the difference between a hobbyist and a pro right there.
Yes.
Documentation.
Documentation is the only difference that matters in a courtroom. Your skills don't matter.
Yeah.
Their paperwork does.
All right, we have our brief. We've made our promise. Now we need a framework to actually run the job. And the source gives us this acronym, which is really helpful. Capstone. CAPSTONE. Let's break this down letter by letter because this is basically a mental checklist for every single flight.
It is. If you can't answer the question for all 8 of these letters, you aren't ready to launch. It's a hard stop.
Okay, let's do it. C stands for certificate and category.
Right. This is knowing your legal lane. What are the rules you are flying under right now? In Canada, are you in basic or advanced operations?
And what's the difference there, quickly?
Generally, if you're in controlled airspace or flying near people, that usually forces you into the advanced category, which means you need a different, harder pilot certificate and a drone that meets certain safety standards. Basic is for wide open spaces, away from airports and people.
Okay. And in the U.S.?
In the U.S., it's generally Part 107 for commercial rules versus being a recreational flyer.
Yeah.
And the source Busts a huge myth here. Just because it looks cinematic doesn't mean it's recreational.
This is a big one. I see this confusion online all the time.
Huge myth. People think, oh, I'm just filming for my YouTube channel, it's for fun. But if your channel is monetized, that's commercial.
Right.
Or I'm filming my friend's house for free, but he's going to use it to sell it. That is furtherance of a business. That is commercial. You need your Part 107 certificate. Cinematic describes the shot, not the rules.
Got it. Okay, A is for airspace and authorizations.
The big one. In Canada, controlled airspace requires authorization from the provider, which is usually NAV Canada, and you get it through their NAV drone app. And here's the kicker, the rules specify. It must be accessible during the flight.
So you can't just say, oh, the PDF is on my desktop at home.
Nope, you need it on your tablet right there. If the inspector asks, you have to be able to pull it up in 5 seconds.
And in the U.S., similar idea.
Very similar. In the U.S., you use LAANC, the Low Altitude Authorization and Notification Capability. It's an automated system. You can't just say, I'll call the tower. That's not a valid plan anymore unless you have a very specific prearranged agreement. You need that digital authorization code on your phone or tablet.
Okay. P is people, property, and privacy.
This is all about ground risk. In Canada, privacy is a big deal and it links to their federal laws, like by PETA. Your drone's camera is a sensor collecting potentially personal information. You can't just hover outside someone's second-story window.
Right.
In the U.S., the FAA doesn't regulate privacy directly. That's a state and local law thing, which can be a minefield. But the FAA does heavily regulate flying over people. Under Part 107.39, you cannot fly over a human being unless you meet very specific conditions.
What are those conditions generally?
It depends on the category of the operation, but it might mean having a drone that weighs less than 250 grams, or having a drone with covered propellers, or the people have to be under a covered structure.
So no flying over crowds at a concert just because it looks cool.
Absolutely not. That is the quickest way to lose your license and get a massive fine. Unless you have a specific waiver and a very complex safety plan, stay away from people.
Okay. S is site survey and safety volume.
The box rule. I love this visual. Imagine your entire flight is happening inside a giant glass aquarium. The ceiling is your max altitude, say 400 feet. The walls are your lateral boundaries, maybe the edge of the property line. Your job is to fly inside that box. If you bump the glass, you've made a mistake. You stop, reassess.
And in Canada, the site survey is explicitly required, right? You have to do it.
Yes. The regulations say you must do a site survey considering your routes in and out and the proximity to other aircraft. It's not just looking around, it's a formal assessment. You need to identify obstacles.
No.
That tree is taller than I thought. That crane wasn't on Google Maps when I planned this yesterday.
What you see on the ground has to trump the plan you made at your desk.
Always. Reality always wins.
Okay, T is technical configuration.
This is about the drone itself. In the US, the big one now is remote ID. Think of it like a digital license plate for your drone. It broadcasts your location and the location of the controller. It's a baseline requirement now for most drones that need to be registered.
So if you don't have it, you just aren't legal to fly in many places.
Correct. You're grounded. In Canada, a key technical rule is for night operations. You need lights visible to the pilot for at least 3 statute miles. You can't just trust the screen. You have to be able to physically see the bird in the dark.
Makes sense. O is operational brief.
This is briefing the crew. And people skip this. They think, oh, it's just me and my buddy.
Yeah, the crew is just 2 people.
Even if the crew is just you and a visual observer, the VO, you need to have a formal brief. What are our roles? Who is responsible for what? What happens if we lose the link? What are the abort triggers? Who is watching the sky for planes? And who is watching the screen for the shot?
Define the roles before the props start spinning.
If you don't, you get what's called assumption of duties, where you both think the other person is watching for birds and then you have a bird strike.
Not good. Okay, N is navigate the mission.
This centers on the golden rule. VLOS, visual line of sight. This is the core rule in both countries. In the US, the definition is very specific. It must be unaided vision. Your prescription glasses are okay, but binoculars or telescopes are not. You have to be able to see the drone with your own eyes at all times and know its orientation.
And in Canada, what about FPV goggles? First-person view flying is huge right now.
It is, and it's a ton of fun. But if you have goggles on, you are legally blind to the airspace around the drone.
Right, you can only see what the drone's camera sees.
So in Canada, if you're using FPV, you must have a visual observer standing next to you. And their job isn't to watch the drone, it's to watch the airspace. They are your eyes on the sky, looking for what might hit the drone.
That's a critical distinction.
It is. Their job is safety, not cinematography.
And finally, E is evidence, export, and evaluation.
This is about keeping the proof. The record is part of the operation. If you didn't save the LAC authorization screenshot, did it really happen? If you get a call from the FAA 6 months from now asking about a flight you did, can you produce the log? Can you show them your risk assessment?
The paperwork is the evidence.
The paperwork is the evidence that you are a professional.
That is a thorough checklist. Capstone. I can see how running through that mentally, even quickly, would catch 99% of mistakes.
It's the pressure-proof method. When you're stressed on site, when things are going wrong, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training. Capstone is the training.
Okay, so we have the framework. Now we go to section 4, the design. This is step 3 in the workflow, planning the actual flight. And the source says we should build backward from the verbs in our brief.
Yes, I love this. Remember that success paragraph. You wrote down what you would deliver. If the verb in that paragraph is compare, then you need repeatable angles.
So you can compare this month to last month?
Right. If the verb is measure, you need an accuracy plan. If the verb is inspect, you need to plan for close-up shots. You stop asking what looks cool and start asking what capture method supports the verb. It makes your flight planning so much more intentional.
Let's talk about altitude strategy, because I think a lot of people just go up to 400 feet because that's the limit and call it a day.
Which is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Altitude is a trade-off. It's a balance between detail, coverage, and risk. The general rule in both the U.S. and Canada is a 400-foot AGL, above ground level, limit. But most of the time, you don't want to be there.
Why lower? What's the advantage?
Well, first, better resolution. If you're inspecting a roof for hail damage, 400 feet is way too high. You won't see anything. You might need to be at 50 feet. Second, and this is a big safety point, better separation from manned aircraft.
Right. Planes and helicopters?
Most small planes and helicopters should be flying above 500 feet in most areas. So if you are at 100 feet, you have this massive 400-foot safety buffer. But there's a trade-off.
Lower means more ground clutter.
It's exactly. Trees, wires, buildings, light poles. So you have to pick your altitude bands for the mission. Maybe you plan an overview band at 300 feet for a big establishing shot, and then a detail band at 100 feet for the close-up work.
And you plan those altitudes ahead of time. You don't just figure it out when you're in the air.
You have to, because changing altitude changes your risk profile.
Okay, and then pattern selection. We mentioned this a bit, but corridor versus site.
Right. A corridor mission is about linear truth. You need a reference line, like a power line or a road. Your flight path should be perfectly parallel to it. You don't zigzag, you fly a clean line. A site mission is about bounded truth. It's a construction site or a piece of property.
So you need repeatable viewpoints. The source suggests a hero sequence for cinematic jobs. What's a hero sequence?
It's knowing your key shots before you launch. You brief it. Okay, for this house, I need 3 shots. Shot 1 is a slow push into the front door. Shot 2 is an orbit from the left side. Shot 3 is a top-down reveal of the backyard.
And you just fly those 3.
You fly those 3 shots perfectly. You don't just fly around aimlessly hoping something looks good. That wastes battery, it wastes time, and it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing.
And here's a pro tip from the guide I absolutely loved. Locking settings. The adult operator move.
Oh, this is crucial. This separates the pros from the amateurs faster than anything. Do not let the camera decide your exposure or your white balance if consistency is the goal.
Why is that such a big deal? It seems small.
It's massive. Imagine you are making a map of a construction site. You're taking 500 photos, looking straight down as the drone flies a grid pattern. If the camera is on auto exposure and a cloud passes over,
half the photos will be bright, half will be dark.
Right. And when the mapping software tries to stitch them together, it fails because they don't match. Or if you're shooting video of a house and the sun flares off a window, the camera on auto will suddenly drop the exposure and the whole scene goes dark for a second. It looks amateurish.
So you lock it all in manually before you take off?
You lock the shutter speed, you lock the ISO, you lock the white balance, you take a test shot, make sure it looks good, and then you don't touch it for the rest of that flight.
So simple, but I bet people forget it all the time.
All the time. And then the client calls and asks, why is the building blue in this shot and orange in that one? And you have no answer except, I was lazy.
Okay, now what if we're claiming measurement? What if the verb in our brief was measure? What's the accuracy plan?
If you use the word measure or survey or accurate, you need a plan for that. That means you likely need ground control points or GCPs.
And what are those?
They are literally targets you put on the ground, like a painted X or a special checkerboard pattern, and you measure their precise location with high-accuracy survey-grade GPS. The drone photographs them, and the software uses them as anchors to make the map dimensionally accurate.
So without those, you can't really claim accuracy.
You can't. If you don't have GCPs or some other control method, you have to state clearly in your deliverable. This is for visual reference only, not for measurement. Do not lie about accuracy. Do not say, this model is accurate to the inch if you just flew a DJI Mini without any ground control. That is fraud.
That is a very clear line in the sand.
It has to be. People's jobs and safety can depend on that data.
That brings us perfectly to Section 5, the safety. Step 4 is risk planning. And this source has a really interesting take on this. It says a risk plan isn't about how to proceed. It's a decision system for when to stop.
That is the single most important sentence in the entire safety section. I'd circle it and highlight it. Most people write a risk assessment to convince themselves it's okay to fly.
To justify the flight.
Yes. Oh, there are trees, but I'll be careful. The wind is a little high, but I think I can handle it. That's your brain tricking you.
Yeah.
A professional risk plan lists no-go and knock-it-off triggers.
I love those terms. They sound very military, very decisive. Let's distinguish them. What's a no-go trigger?
A no-go is pre-launch. It's a red light before you even start the car. You write these down beforehand. We do not take off if the wind is gusting above 20 knots.
Okay.
If we can't access our airspace authorization on the tablet. If there are people in our designated landing zone who won't move. If the battery temperature is too low because it's cold outside. It's binary. It's a yes or a no. If it's a no-go, you pack up and go home. You don't negotiate with your own rules.
And a knock-it-off trigger.
That's in flight. That's the emergency brake. We stop the mission immediately if we lose visual line of sight of the drone, even for a second.
Even for a second.
Yep. If a bystander walks under the drone, if a manned aircraft appears on the horizon, you don't say, oh, let me just finish this one last orbit. You say, knock it off, and you execute your pre-planned abort procedure. Land immediately or return to home.
It takes the emotion out of it, takes the get-there-itis out of the equation. You don't have to decide in the moment. You decided yesterday when you were calm and wrote the plan.
Exactly. When your adrenaline is high, you make bad choices. The plan makes the choice for you. Your only job is to obey the plan.
And to build that plan, we use the hierarchy of controls. Can you walk us through that?
Right. This is standard safety engineering. It's a pyramid. At the top, the most effective control is elimination.
Get rid of the hazard completely.
Get rid of it. If there's a dangerous road with traffic, move the launch point to the other side of the property so you never have to fly near the road. Hazard eliminated. That's the best option.
Okay, what's next?
If you can't eliminate it, you try to substitute. Use a smaller, lighter drone that would do less damage if it fell. Substitute a high-risk drone for a low-risk one. Next is engineering controls.
Like physical barriers.
Physical barriers or digital ones. Putting up cones and caution tape is an engineering control. Setting a maximum altitude limit in the drone's software so it physically can't fly too high is an engineering control.
Oh, that's a good one.
Below that is administrative controls. These are procedures and rules. We will not fly while the school bus is dropping off kids between 3.0 and 3.15. It's just a rule you follow. And at the very bottom, the least effective is PPE.
Personal protective equipment.
High-vis vests, hard hats, safety glasses.
Yeah.
This is the last resort. A hard hat doesn't stop the drone from falling. It just hopefully protects your head a little. You should be using the controls higher up the pyramid first.
The source lists specific hazard management strategies for ground risk and air risk. Let's touch on those.
For sure. Ground risk is mostly about managing people. It's the behavior risk. People are unpredictable. They look up, they get distracted, they walk toward the drone to ask you questions while you're trying to fly.
Right in the middle of a critical maneuver.
Always. You have to plan for that. You need a designated landing zone that is clear and that you can defend, maybe with your VO or with tones. Air risk is what I call the three killers. Airspace, are you legally allowed to be there? Manned aircraft, can you see them and avoid them? And loss of VLOS, did the drone go behind a building or a tree? You have to have a mitigation for all three of those on every flight.
And you need emergency actions scripted, not just, I'll figure it out.
Right. You need to know your drone settings. If you have a lost link event, the controller disconnects, you shouldn't be wondering what the drone will do. You should know because you said it. It will climb to 150 feet and return to home. You script the response. If a helicopter comes, the script is descend immediately to 50 feet and hover until it passes. You drill these scripts so they are muscle memory.
Moving on to Section 6, the execution. This is steps 5 and 6. Checklists and flying the play. The source mentions a checklist stack. I like that. It's not just one big list.
No, one giant list is useless. We know this from aviation. You get checklist fatigue, you'll get bored, and just tick the boxes without thinking. So you break it into 4 micro lists, each for a different phase.
Okay, what's the first one?
First is the pre-job checklist. You do this at your desk the day before. This prevents showing up to the wrong site, or with no permissions, or with uncharged batteries. It's all the prep work.
Okay, so you're ready when you leave the house. What's the second?
Second is the on-site checklist. This prevents an unsafe launch. You do this right before you power on the drone. You confirm the site survey reality. Is the wind actually what the forecast said? Are there new power lines I didn't see on Google Maps?
Yeah.
Are there people here who weren't here yesterday?
Then you fly. And there's a checklist for during the flight.
Yes, the in-flight QC checklist. The micro pause?
Yeah.
This is brilliant. You take off, you fly your first photo or your first 10 seconds of video, then you pause. You hover. You zoom in on the picture on your screen. Is it sharp? Is it exposed correctly?
So you don't fly for 20 minutes and then realize the settings were wrong the whole time.
You've done it. I've done it. Everyone's done it. This one little step saves entire missions. Check your work early. And fourth, the post-flight checklist.
What's on that one?
This prevents data loss. The first thing you do when the drone is powered down is take the SD card out. The second thing you do is back it up to a laptop or a hard drive, right there in the field. And write your flight logs and notes while they are fresh in your mind.
Then comes step 6, run the play. The hidden skill here is tempo. What does that mean?
Tempo. It's about moving without rushing. Amateurs rush. They run around, they're frantic, they launch before the GPS has a solid lock because they're impatient. Pros have a rhythm, a calm, deliberate pace. Unpack, assemble, pre-flight, brief launch, fly, scan, verify, log. It's slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
And you can practice this with something the source calls a tabletop capstone.
Yes. This is such a great training tool. You don't even need to fly. You sit at a table with a map of your mission site. You talk through the entire flight. You say, okay, I'm launching now. I'm climbing to 100 feet. Then your training partner throws in and injects a surprise.
Like a dog just ran into your landing zone.
A dog just ran into your landing zone. Or, oh no, a helicopter just appeared over that hill. What do? What's your immediate action? You practice the decision-making without the stress and risk of spinning props.
That's so smart. It builds the neural pathways for when it happens, for real.
It does. And when you do the live mission, you run a sterile cockpit. This is another term for manned aviation. During critical phases of flight takeoff, landing, complex maneuvers, there's no chatting about the football game, no texting. You focus on the flight and adhere to your box rule.
Okay. We've flown the mission, we've landed safely. Now we're at Section 7, the deliverable and the upgrade. Steps 7 and 8.
Right. Step 7 is all about the deliverables, the definition of done. And the rule is the package you send the client should make their decision easy without the pilot having to narrate it. If you have to call them and spend 10 minutes explaining what they're looking at, you failed.
It should speak for itself.
It has to. And the secret weapon for this is the one-page summary.
I love the one-page summary. Tell me more.
It's a cover sheet for your data. One sentence on what was done. We conducted an aerial survey of the south roof. 3 to 5 bullets on key findings. Finding 1, suspected hail damage in the northwest corner. Finding 2, debris buildup in the central gutter. And a clear statement of limitations. We could not fly the north corner because of an overhanging tree.
It's an executive summary. They can read that in 30 seconds and know everything.
Exactly. And then they can dive into the hundreds of photos if they need to. And when you're preparing that package, you run it through your own QC gates, quality control.
Okay, what are the gates?
3 gates. Gate 1 is integrity. Do the files actually open? Are any of them corrupt? Simple but critical. Gate 2 is usability. Is the data sharp and exposed correctly? Is it blurry? Is it useless? And Gate 3 is decision support. Does it actually answer the question from the mission brief? If the brief asks for a roof inspection, you only filmed the beautiful landscaping, you failed Gate 3, no matter how pretty the footage is.
And you need to structure your folders. Separate deliverables from the proof bundle.
Yes. This is so important for professionalism. The client gets a clean deliverables folder with the summary and the final photos videos. You keep a proof bundle for your records. That has the risk sheet, the flight logs, the airspace authorizations.
That's your insurance policy.
The proof bundle is your insurance. You don't necessarily send it to the client. They don't care about your LANC code, but you keep it forever. If anyone asks, were you allowed to be there? You have the proof ready to go.
Finally, step 8. The debrief. This is how you stop being a pilot who flew and become an operator who built a system.
And this is the step almost everyone skips. They land, they pack up, and they go home to start editing the cool footage. But the debrief is where the real learning happens. The source suggests 3 passes.
Hot, warm, and cold.
The hot debrief happens on site immediately after landing. You or your crew, if you have one, just capture the raw facts while they're fresh. The wind was stronger than we expected from the north. That dog that ran into the launch zone was a surprise. I felt rushed during the battery swap. Just get it down before you forget.
Okay. Then the warm debrief.
Warm debrief is same day, maybe back at the office. This is where you compare plan versus actual. We planned for the mission to take 20 minutes, but it took 30. Why? We planned to fly at 100 feet, but a tree forced us up to 150. Did we document that?
And then the cold debrief.
The cold debrief is the next day, when you've had some sleep and you're not emotionally attached to the flight anymore. This is where you do system upgrades. What do we change in our checklist, in our procedure, so we don't make that same mistake again?
And for that, you use root cause analysis, the 5 whys.
Exactly. A classic safety tool. If the exposure was bad in half your photos, you ask why. Because the sun came out from behind a cloud. Why did that matter? Because the camera was on auto exposure. Why was it on auto? Because I forgot to lock it in manual mode. Why did you forget? Because it's not on my on-site checklist. Why not? Because I never added it.
Boom! The root cause.
The root cause isn't the sun came out. The root cause is my checklist is incomplete. So you add lock exposure to the checklist. You fix the system. You didn't just fix the photo. You fixed the pilot for every future flight.
And doing all of this whole 8-step process, it creates portfolio power.
Exactly. When you go for a serious job interview or try to land a big commercial client, don't just show them your pretty video reel. Everyone has a pretty video reel.
Right.
Show them a Capstone report. Show them the mission brief, the risk assessment sheet, the checklists, and the debrief where you caught a mistake and systematically fixed it. That proves you are a professional operator. It proves you're not just lucky, you're reliable.
It's impressive. It shows you're not just lucky, you're good. You have a process.
Luck is not a strategy. The Capstone is a strategy.
So to summarize the outro here from the research, the Capstone is proof that you can deliver cinematic, high-quality results, but with professional, defensible decision-making behind every frame.
It's the shift from, I hope this goes well, to, I know this will go well, or I have a plan for what to do if it doesn't, because I designed it to.
The source leaves us with a wingman challenge, a call to action for you, the listener.
I like this. It's simple. On your very next flight, identify one specific knock-it-off trigger and write it down before you launch. Just one.
So it could be anything.
Anything. If I see a hawk circling, I will land immediately. If the wind reading on my controller hits 15 miles per hour, I stop. If my battery hits 30%, I'm heading home. Write it down on a piece of paper, put it in your pocket, and then, the hard part, actually obey it. See how that one small act changes your entire mindset.
That's a great challenge. A small step towards a professional habit.
And the final thought from the source, the footage lasts a week. The habits last a career. Fly the play, not the mood.
Fly the play. I love that. Don't fly because you feel good or feel confident. Fly because the plan says to fly. This has been incredible. Thank you for walking us through this deep dive. It's definitely changed how I look at my own drone sitting on the shelf. It feels less like a toy and more like a serious piece of equipment now.
It's a tool, a powerful one, and it deserves to be treated like one.
Until next time, stay safe and fly smart. That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.